All right. How are we doing tonight, y'all? Uh, Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Just want to make sure all the settings are right. Um, I'm gonna try to move my camera situation a bit. Um, let's see here. What's going on, Skokes? Can you guys hear me all right? Oh, sorry. Can you find that? All right, cool, awesome. Um, yeah, I mean, um, there's a lot to talk about in this one, obviously, and we'll break it down. But this is obviously this season's over. It's officially done. And there's some stuff to really I think talk about that does not relate to this game. um, so there's gonna be stuff that's gonna be part of this game. Um, 1 second, sorry. I apologize if that was loud. My audio settings are a little backwards right now. So 1 second. Okay, let's see here. We got caught lacking in modern basketball. Billy taking out Kobe, who was on fire for Beverly Hills peak Billy dominant. Thank God we extended Billy, man. I mean, like, there was a lot of this entire game that was very peak Bulls, sticking in 90s type decisions, and this entire game, right, was a 90s type game, right, which is the reason why I've intentionally put that whole title up as the reason why I'm doing this exact stream. I I find it so fitting, right? I find it so fitting that the Bulls lost their season on a 90s type basketball game when they've played 90s type basketball all season. Like, if anything, right, this was supposed to be the game that you win because this is exactly what this team has wanted all season, which is to play 90s basketball. And in the end, it shows you that everyone that thinks that this team is like gonna, really work out in the 90s, like I think if let's say they were in the 90s, I think the play style is better. I just don't think that this is still a good team in the 90s. I think the team still sucks in the 90s. Um, and it shows you that if this Bulls team just was not stuck in the 90s in this game, right? They win this game. Like they I just I can't I just can't stress it enough. If the Bulls just had some shooting, if the Bulls just decided, hey, we're not going to play 90s basketball today, if the Bulls didn't feed into the Miami defense of let's shoot the mid-range jump shot constantly, like it would have been a completely different game. But yet here we are. And it's, hey, yeah, this Bulls team is having issues in this specific game when Miami can't for the life of them, unless your name is Max Strus, hit a 3-point shot, right? So Max Strus is hitting his threes, but it's like this is the reason why I'm so heavily annoyed with people when they're just like, no, it's okay to shoot the mid range and to play 90s basketball, right? I'm like, look, you don't want to feed into this game. The Miami Heat, right? They want this sort of game to be mucked up, to be slow, to be a low scoring type affair because that's what they've done all season long, right? This is the reason why I have been stressing this all season long. I have been telling you guys that this is going to be the downfall of this team, and I thought that the Bulls had a legit shot of making the play-in after beating Toronto. I did not think we'd beat Toronto, but we're still at the same result after beating Toronto. So I think in the end, it just shows you that this Bulls team needs some serious changes moving forward right now because My God, was tonight just an absolute disaster to watch. And honestly, like, I think, uh, I think that if, let's say, the Bulls were, playing well, right, and were playing to the style that I think I wanted to see, I would be sitting here pretty upset. But throughout this game, when I was just watching this game, I'm just like, if the Bulls lose this one, this is just straight up on them. It's on them. And I'm not going to sit here and be mad because we have talked about this the entire season that this Bulls team is stuck into early 2000s, 90s basketball, and they just live with it. And tonight, you play a game that is 90s basketball, where no one can hit a three. No one could get inside, for God's sake. Both teams were defending the paint at an extremely high level. At halftime, we saw the Bulls had 16 points in the paint. The Miami Heat had 14. Okay, like that's how good the defense was tonight. Okay, you want a 90s style of game? Here you go. Here it is, Bulls. Like, or just the Chicago Bulls. Like, here it is, Billy Donovan. Here it is, DeMar DeRozan, and you lose the game. It just shows you that it is stupid how this team is run, and there needs to be some serious changes for this team moving forward. And I'm looking forward to this offseason just to see if AK is gonna really prove me wrong, right? I think there are changes coming, but I want to see serious changes coming, right? I'm not saying rebuild, obviously, but I need to see a complete different play style for next season, right? If we come next season and we're still attempting the least amount of threes per game, and yeah, maybe we did some personnel changes, but if it's still, hey, we're shooting the least amount of threes per game, guess what? That nothing changed then, right? It's just different. It's just different. It's different people, but then the same play style and the same type of basketball. So yeah, this was a game. I hope it shows Bulls fans, look, 90s basketball is not going to cut it. Yeah, guess what? The Miami Heat, they played 90s basketball tonight and they won. You know the reason why they won though tonight is because the Chicago Bulls play 90s basketball too. And if the Bulls just did not play 90s basketball, they win this game easily. And it's annoying that we have to just watch through that this entire night. So I'm not too upset because this was just like, it makes perfect sense. The poem fits perfectly. It's the last piece of the puzzle for this dreadful season that we've been looking at. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow because there's some quotes that are going to be coming from the front office and players too. So we're going to really see what's going to be said here. If AKMA needs something to evaluate, here it is. Oh, for sure. Zach was like 4 for 50 tonight. Oh yeah, look. I tweeted it, like, Zach LaVine had a very rough night, and of course it does suck because this is this is an elimination game, and he had a incredible night the previous game, and then tonight you can kind of tell that it was all just it relied on Zach, right? If Zach was able to put up 30 plus again because of his modern type game, then the Bulls probably win this one. But we saw that this team fed into this 90s type game, right? Like, one thing that I need all of you to look at right now is, like, look at how many field goal attempts each team took, right? Miami took 78 field goal attempts. The Bulls took 82. That is the definition of 90s basketball, right? That's the definition of how you ruin offensive efficiency, okay? That you should be at least getting 90 possessions in a game. The fact that you only got 82 as this Bulls team, and then you lost to a team that had 78 is disgusting. This, again, what I've been saying all season long, right? I've said this all season long with this team, and it's showing up at the last day when the season officially has come to an end. So Zach for sure, he needs to do better in this sort of game for sure. He didn't live up to the task tonight, and I'm gonna be critical of him. But this is also the reason why I have been saying that I want Zach to get these sort of experiences in, because there's gonna be times where his shot can't go down, right? Like I think it was very evident that Zach was trying to get to the rim tonight, but holy hell did Miami come with a great game plan against him, because they said that anytime Zach LaVine at the top of the key is going to start driving hard to the basket, we're going to send three bodies at him, and he is going to be forced to pass out the ball, or it's going to be a charge, right? So give a ton of credit to Miami, but with Zach, I mean, if just a few of those jumpers go down, I think it's a different game, obviously. But none of his jump shots went down tonight. So I think for Zach, this is one of those situations where it's a playoff type game. We need to see from here on out, right? If your shot isn't going, and your driving ability is being taken away, then how can we make sure that you can get your jump shot going? Because that's what makes him so lethal at the end of the day. Is if his jump shot is going, and his his ability to drive to the basket is so lethal. It's one of the best in the NBA. So, getting I wanted two playing games for a reason, and we got it, right? And this is, I think, one of those reasons where I'm like, okay, there's gonna be a game maybe Zach struggles, and he needs to take that experience, and moving forward, he's gonna have to use it and learn from it, so that he can get to the free throw line and learn how to get to the free throw line in a game like this, right? Because if his jump shot isn't going down, and his drives are being taken away, then he has to then try to get to the free throw line better, which I thought he didn't do a good enough job tonight. So again, learning experience, right? This is the reason why I value this sort of stuff at the end of the day. Like, yeah, I'm aware that the Bulls were gonna, if they won this game, they were gonna get probably swept or gentlemen swept by Milwaukee, and I understand that that's probably the case. But I still think those games would have been good experience for this team. And also, hopefully, the more ideal thing was more experience for Billy Donovan, because I thought that I really thought that this was a not really good coached game by him. And it's more so about the offensive end than the defensive end. I think defensively there's mostly good stuff, but there is a few critiques that I really want to point out here, that I really need to point out and call out on him, because there's some stuff that we got to look through with this team. So let's see. Let me get through some of the other chats here. They shut him down. I know, but yeah, I mean, it's on Zach then to either he has to hit his shots from the perimeter, which I know he can, or he has to get to the free throw line, right? I felt like we were throwing the ball at the hoop and not shooting it. So many contested mid-range shots tonight. I think I may have seen Zach shoot maybe 1 3-pointer, even though he shot 6 of them. So Zach definitely was taking 3-point shots, and I thought every single three that Zach took was a good three. I had no issue with the 3-point shots that he took. I had an issue with some of the mid-range shots that Zach took tonight. Some of them made absolutely no sense to me. And same thing with DeRozan, and same thing with Vucevic, and then it goes on and on and on. That this team just they just solely rely on that mid-range, and I know DeMar DeRozan had a few good mid-range shots tonight that went down for and ones, but like again, that's not gonna happen every single possession. And DeRozan, I'm telling DeRozan, I don't know where he was in the past, or in the last 4 minutes. Same thing with Zach, right? Like Zach, I think Zach scored with like 4 minutes left to go on a free throw, but then he didn't score the rest of the quarter. So again, just too much reliability on the mid-range. It's not gonna work. And we saw that Miami was willing to let that happen. Just let the mid-range, or let the Bulls mid-range themselves to death, or they somehow shoot a high enough percentage where they win this game. 4-game curse hits the Bulls yet again. Yep, another fitting end to the season, right? It's a perfect end to this season. Now we look at the offseason. I'm very happy with the way Kobe played. I'm also happy with the way Kobe played. He played, in my opinion, very, very well. But I saw too many passed up wide open threes. Oh, I 100% agree. I thought the Bulls passed up a ton of threes tonight. That I'm just like, I understand that this game is a very slow type game, and there's a lot of things going against this Bulls team in this game. But you gotta take those threes, man. I mean, hell, Caruso, in my opinion, was Caruso had a fantastic first half, and suddenly he's passing up 3-point shots in the second half. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. This was DeRozan's last game as a Bull for sure. I think that's where we're heading. I think that this was DeRozan's last game as a Bull. And we'll talk about that in the stream. Kobe was balling tonight. Oh yeah, they shut down Zach real well for sure. Yeah, I mean, this was a fantastic Miami game plan. And you can tell that it's very much like, okay, we have to shut down Zach, And if we shut down Zach, then we can let DeRozan just do his thing, and we'll live with it, right? If we shut down Zach, we'll let Vooch do his thing, we'll live with it, right? And this shows you how much the importance of having shooters around, or just having in general shooters, but just having shooters around Zach, right? Because one thing that I'm gonna give Zach credit for in this game, even though this was an incredibly bad game from him, was that he continued to attack all 4 quarters, right? Zach continued to drive hard every single quarter. He was relentless. Like he was saying, like, I am going to drive hard and put the pressure on the defense. And the thing is that I think that he had a lot of those moments where, like, he collapsed the defense, and obviously he couldn't score off of it. But because of the Bulls' lack of shooting and the Bulls' lack of other playmakers on this roster, it all went for naught. Like, he's passing out to DeMar DeRozan, who won't shoot the 3-ball, or then he's passing out to Andre Drummond, who obviously can't shoot the 3-ball, and then he's passing out to Patrick Beverley, and then he can't cash in from 3-point range. It shows you just how much shooting is necessary with this team, and how much they lack shooting and just lack playmakers on this team. It's annoying to watch. Stan Van Gundy was saying Vooch is the way we win this game because Miami couldn't answer him. So I think with Stan wanted him to post up. I was very much against that. I watched him try to post up in that first quarter, and it didn't go well. I was more of the idea that I think Vooch should be rolling. Because the funny thing is that Kenny Jet Smith on halftime was talking about how Vucevic is so good because he can step out and hit the mid-range shot, and I'm just like, okay, you know what, that's fine. But I want to see Vooch roll hard to the basket, because I think that would be a way to really collapse the defense for this Miami Heat team. And so maybe, a guy like Kobe can take advantage and hit a 3-point shot, or maybe this allows a better lane to the basket from Zach. And I would have just rather have seen it more of a pick and roll type approach with Vooch than a post-up type approach or a pick and fade type approach, which we saw a lot tonight. So, yeah, I disagree. I disagree with Stan Van Gundy saying that it was through the post, but I do think that Vooch could have had a bigger impact on this game. But part of it's also on him, because I thought Vooch did not really play that good of a game tonight. Vooch also only took 9 shots, right? Yeah, and I also thought he was, again, I don't think he screened very well on some possessions, and then I don't think that he did a good job of rolling hard with authority when he needs to roll to the basket. He needs to roll to the basket, and it's straight up necessary. Probably last time we see the big three together. I'm gonna make a guess. I'm gonna agree with you, MC. I think that this is the last time we see the big three together. Goodbye, DeMar. It was nice knowing you. Yeah, I mean, look, man, I'm not here to be, like, I want DeMar DeRozan, like, out the door, and, like, I don't want to ever see him again. Like, I appreciate what DeMar DeRozan has brought these past 2 seasons, but in my opinion, it is time to move on from him. And I truly appreciate him mentoring Ayo and Terry, and being a good presence in the locker room. But as he's getting older and his game doesn't change, it's going to keep this Bulls team in just a stuck position if he stays. So, in my opinion, he needs to move on. And I think that he'll be, probably a decent piece on a contender. But that's not here, obviously. This team is not a contender. So, he shouldn't be here. AKM going to be like, we like what we see from the team. Lonzo's been out, continuity, there are no moves to be made, etc., etc. I'm worried that that's going to be the case, but here's what I'm also going to say to you guys about AK's press conference, which I believe is going to be tomorrow. It could be tomorrow. It could be, I'm not 100% sure when, honestly. It might be Sunday. But when it comes to AK and his press conferences, right? Like, he says a lot of stuff that is actually truthful, right? Like, he typically sticks to his word, but he's also a guy that just does not reveal information, right? So I feel like he's done a really decent job of, like, hiding information when it comes to, like, moves that are about to be made. But when it comes to expectations, he's been truthful. Like, he said to the fan base that the expectation for this season, before the season started, was that they had to be better than last season, right? And last season the Bulls were in the playoffs. This season the Bulls missed the playoffs. So obviously that wasn't met. And then after the trade deadline, AK said that the expectation is to make the playoffs. And the Bulls didn't make the playoffs. So there's 2 things right there that you can go after on AK and be like, look, you said these 2 things. the team failed to meet expectations. What are you going to do now? So I think that there's that part that's going to be interesting. But then, you know, I won't be shocked if, let's say, Box, if he says something like that, right? And like, let's say he'll say like continuity, Lonzo's been out, or like, I don't think he's going to say that there are no moves to be made. I think he's more so going to say that we're going to evaluate this team, which I see that you see, which I see that you said it after that. Like, I think it's gonna be more something about that, and say like we're gonna look at this team, we're gonna look to see how we can improve it, right? And hopefully we'll be able to improve it at the at the draft and through free agency. Like, I think it's just gonna be a very PR answer from him, because as I said, I think we just don't ever get something good in terms of culture making when it comes to like moves that could be made with this team. So yeah, I'm interested to see what AK says, and then we're not gonna really know what AK is actually thinking until the offseason actually hits. So we're gonna have to wait as Bulls fans for a little bit here. I'm not gonna support a piss poor basketball product like this when they can improve it. Oh, I totally agree. I don't think you should. They have seen, they have evaluated, now they can make changes and improve. Oh, I mean, yeah, this is they had the entire season to evaluate, and I think part of that evaluation was Lonzo Ball's health, right? And that evaluation is officially done, right? Where we know with Lonzo Ball that he is officially just, he's out for probably all of next season, if not longer. So, you know, you had the entire season to evaluate it. You decide not to make any moves at the trade deadline, which I'm not gonna say that like that was full out them saying like we didn't take calls or we weren't actually trying to make moves. Like, I'm just gonna say that they probably overvalued some guys and undervalued some other guys that they could have potentially went out and got. So just a poor evaluation process by them, and they set a goal for this squad. They failed to meet that goal, so your evaluation process better be sound and stick to what you said, because your team didn't hit the goal tonight. 2 trade deadlines and 1 offseason and no improvements. Yep. These people are high-level basketball execs and they don't know how to evaluate talent. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna full out say like they don't know how to evaluate talent. But I think when it comes to AK and Mark Eversley, at least for now, their evaluation of the talent that they've assembled is just a little bit different than what we see, right? And look, I'm not an NBA exec, and maybe that could show you that maybe I'm not that great at evaluating talent. But I think the obvious factor here is that the Bulls didn't make the playoffs, and I think if there's any sort of evaluation mark that you need to hit, right, then there's that. And the Bulls didn't do that. I don't believe what he did with the Nuggets was pure luck. On the other hand, we know for sure Jerry is doing whatever he wants to do with the team, and no exec will ever be able to do his thing. I also agree with that. The Bulls are 19th overall in payroll this season, so we'll see. Maybe if the new CBA allows the Bulls, allows Jerry, or it makes Jerry give more leeway for this Bulls team moving forward with how much money he can spend. I would like to see that. Again, I'm going to repeat that statement. The Chicago Bulls were ranked 19th in payroll this season. Okay, 19th in payroll this season. The Chicago Bulls were ranked 19th in payroll this season. Okay, and if you just kind of look at the numbers, right, a lot of the teams that pay, right, and actually spend money on the team, they're typically the teams that are going farther in the playoffs or making the playoffs and having a better record than you. So that's all I'm going to say. So what's the plan? Build through draft or free agency? I think it's both. I think that we've already seen AK and Mark Eversley build through the draft with the draft picks of Dalen Terry and Patrick Williams, and also Io to an extent. And then with free agency, I think that there are moves to be made. Now, I when I say free agency, that also includes trades. I think that you're gonna potentially see a DeMar DeRozan deal that could happen where the Bulls get back some assets in return, which then it could be a draft asset, right? It could be a young player, right? But it could also just be like a win now move. Who knows? But I think when it comes to just the offseason, like how we build this team, or at least the way that I would picture building this team, right? It's a combination of all three of draft picks, trades, and free agency pickups. That's what I would do. Tomorrow would be great in the Lakers. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, DeMar DeRozan deal is a possibility. That's all I'm gonna say. Everybody looks great for the Lakers. Yeah. They are the Flakers. They got great whistles 11 out of 10 times. They are from the LA. If they got a chance to go into the playoffs, they will make sure they will be in the playoffs. On the other hand, no one gives a damn about Chicago. I will say that I think the Bulls have been screwed heavily by the officiating this season. If you look at the last 2 minute reports, the Chicago Bulls are one of the most screwed over teams in the last 2 minute reports. And yeah, I mean it's that Pascal Siakam call, right? Um, that's that I think that was a definition of the NBA showing that they don't care about the Bulls and that they might have rigged. They tried to rig that Raptors game. Um, yeah. No, I'm just saying that they don't know how to evaluate talent. I was being sarcastic saying that they're just making. Oh, I agree with you, Lob for 100%. If they're saying that we're still evaluating, like that's 100% an excuse. But I'm also just I just want this to be clear. Like if they say that they're still evaluating, right? Like I don't know how much you could take it that at face value because if you take that fully, right? I then really question how much you know about how the NBA offseason works, right? Like it's important that the executives don't say anything about their plans for the upcoming offseason, right? Like the most that they can say is that changes are going to be made. Like that is the most that they can say. And that's it, right? Because if you even kind of show your hand just a tad, it gives the other teams an advantage because they know your game plan for this upcoming offseason. So all I'm just gonna say is that like don't expect AK to come into the press conference saying yeah we're gonna look to add 3-point shooting, we're gonna look to add more rebounding, and we're gonna look to add more guys that can run the pick and roll better. Like if he says that, right, that's showing his cards before free agency has even started. Hell, we're not even in the playoffs yet, right? So just don't just suddenly jump like, oh my god, he didn't say anything that this team needs, and he said that we're going to be evaluating this team moving forward, and just be like, oh my god, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like I want to let the moves speak for themselves instead of AK's words where he can't really say anything, right, except about the players on the team. Okay. Like AK cannot come out and say that yeah we want to go after Tyus Jones this offseason, or yeah we want to go after a quality starting point guard this offseason, right? Um, so I think that this is uh, kind of just showing you like, okay, let's make sure that we don't just jump uh, to big conclusions of where like, oh, AK doesn't know anything, and that no moves are going to be made. So I'm going to let the moves speak for themselves if they actually clearly evaluated this team correctly and they know how to make the proper move moving forward. I want a young guy with some flair and some shooting to go with Zach. Someone like De'Aaron Fox. Not him, obviously, he's in Sacktown, but something like him. I mean, I 100% agree. I think DeJounte Murray is kind of like the guy that I think is like a perfect example of what we would want, right? Good defender, can run the point guard position, can get into the lane or get into the paint very easily, and he's done a better job shooting recently to the point where I trust him enough. And I think he'd be a really nice fit next to Zach. Obviously, Fox is not available. The Sacramento Kings are not trading De'Aaron Fox anytime soon, so that's not an idea. But yeah, I mean, I think there are some guards like De'Aaron Fox that get out in transition very well, can run the pick and roll and dribble penetrate very well, and play downhill, as Billy Donovan has said the entire season, right? They're out there, and it's up to this Bulls front office to go out and get them to really maximize this team moving forward. Because I think that's the idea, honestly. Um, I'm gonna keep answering you guys' questions. Can someone just make sure is the camera and the audio, does it look offset again? If it is, just let me know, and I wanna do a quick fix on it. Just let me know if the camera and the audio look pretty offset, and if I need to in chat, please. We had our smallest big market team. I totally agree. You feel bad we didn't just take to get a better draft pick chance. I mean, we aren't going far in the playoffs anyways. So look, man, Anthony, I'm not here to tank personally. Looks fine on your end. All right, thank you. Um, I I'm not here to tank with this team. If this team, let's just say, had a top 10, protection on their draft pick, then yeah, I would have said yeah, let's tank out the rest of the season. But like we've said all season, the only way that the Bulls keep their draft pick is if it's top four, and there is a very slim chance that that happens. There is such a slim chance. So I hope that we understand that the idea of tanking for the rest of the season just to then pray to the lords that we get a top four draft pick, and when we have the seventh best odds or something, or the eighth best odds, it's not worth it, right? So I would have much rather pushed for the playoffs, because there's still something you can get out of this play-in tournament and playoffs if you make it. And to me, I think I'm seeing a very high percent chance that if the Bulls just miss the play-in tournament and don't get, and then they don't get, or sorry, they miss the play-in tournament, there's a very high percent chance that they get nothing out of it, right? Just for missing the play-in tournament. There's like nothing that you get out of it in the end. Video is fan by a decent amount. All right, thank you. All right, let me go ahead and do a quick little fix here. I know it doesn't bother you, Calvin, but it bothers me. um, okay, test 1, 2, 3. Did that make it better, or did that make it worse? I think that made it worse. Give me 1 sec. Actually, 1 second. I need to take a phone call. I'm sorry. Sorry, y'all. I had to let someone forgot to uh, let me know that they were not not with us. They were locked out. Okay. So slightly delayed audio now, I think, but it doesn't. Or still the same. Okay, never mind. Still the same. Um. Can y'all how about this right now? How does this look? Does this look better or worse? I'm changing the music. Way worse. Got it. All right, gotcha. All right. I think I got it. I think I got it. Okay. So I'm not gonna mess around with it anymore. I'm just gonna leave it as is. All right. Um, I did one more change, so hopefully this looks better now. All Alright. Alright, hold on. I'm trying to... Cool. Alright. Hope you guys like this different little soundtrack that right? Okay. So let me get back to some of the other stuff that we're talking about in chat here. Jerry owns the team since 1985. Yeah, the luxury tax discussion is disgusting with this Bulls team. One time, the new rules, the new CBA almost kind of encourages teams to go into the luxury tax, but not go into it a very extreme amount. And it's more easier on like the smaller market teams. So if they decide to go into the luxury tax, it's not as penalizing, right? So, you know, I would like to see that from this Bulls team, is that with the new rules, that if you go into the luxury tax, it's not that bad of a penalty or of a fee that you have to pay to the league office after. So I'm hoping that that's the case. But at the end of the day, we don't know. It is Jerry Reinsdorf at the end of the day, and it's still a problematic owner that isn't willing to spend money on this team. See here. You think Lonzo's dealt this offseason? I kind of see it, but I kind of not see it. I prefer we just deal him, whether it's career ending or something else, to get out of his contract. So, MC season, look, man, I've been saying it, I think, pretty consistently on this channel. If I could deal Lonzo, I would do it in a heartbeat. Like I'm telling you right now, if I could get out of Lonzo Ball's contract, I would do it very quickly. But I just think that is the definition of an untradeable contract. Honestly, like, I'm being dead serious right now. When a player like Lonzo Ball is not healthy and is stuck just trying to rehab and can never ever get right, because he is making $20+ million per season, which is starting level type money, right? It basically turns into an untradeable contract. Like, if a role player that's making $4 million annually is, just can't stay healthy, but is locked in for like 4 years for some reason, that's not necessarily an untradeable contract because it's only $4 million, right? But because Lonzo Ball is making $20+ million, we're looking at, in my opinion, untradeable contract. I've kind of went through it all, and the only team that makes sense is Charlotte, which I think we've discussed on this channel. But if the way that it gets done is that we have to give up assets to get Lonzo Ball's contract out of here, right? And that, to me, is the part that I'm just not willing to accept here. And the biggest thing about it is that I don't even think Charlotte accepts it, right? I think if you're the Bulls, you can maybe come to some sort of consensus where it's like, okay, I'm willing to give up a first-round pick or two if we're getting a decent player in return and we're getting rid of Lonzo Ball's contract. That's just from the Bulls side. If you're the Hornets, for example, like, yeah, maybe a first-round pick sounds nice, but like at the same time, a Lonzo Ball contract, when you know that he's probably never going to play again, right? That, to me, is just not worth any sort of, compensation. Whether it's a draft pick, a young player, I don't care. Unless you're really getting an actual, like, superstar or, like, an all-star in return, alongside Lonzo Ball's contract, like, there just doesn't seem to me like any sort of reason to take on Lonzo's contract. It's basically, if you decide that, yeah, we'll take on Lonzo's contract, it's basically saying, like, yeah, I'm willing to take this poison pill and eat it, just straight up eat it, and we'll just deal with it for the next 2 seasons. And I think that's something that no team in the NBA wants to deal with, but the Chicago Bulls signed Lonzo, so they're stuck with it. So, I'm with you, MC Season, that I think it would be awesome if the Bulls could just deal Lonzo to get out of his contract, even if it's not career-ending right now with him. But in my opinion, that's just not going to happen. I think the Bulls would love to get out of his contract, but there's just no way it's going to happen, in my opinion. Let's see here. Okay. Sorry, my audio. Oh, sorry, I came back. That's why. last check on the audio. Does it look backwards, or sorry, does it look out of sync, or does it look better after these changes? Just let me know. Um, looks good. All right, cool. Um, Come on, just side eye pill, get over it. uh, yeah, but I was about to say something even worse, but yeah. I was on Twitter talking to a Bulls insider around the trade deadline, and he said that it's Jerry's son who deals with the Bulls mostly, and that AKME having gone to his son with players that puts him over the luxury tax. So that is what Casey Johnson has also reported. Michael Reinsdorf, who is Jerry's son, is the what is he? I think he's the president. That role? I honestly don't know his role, but Michael Reinsdorf has come on to the Bulls Talk podcast and has said that if they see a team that they think is championship caliber, they're willing to spend the money, right? And that to me is a very, very like it's like, okay, yeah, you're willing to spend the money, but like to me they hold all the they hold all the boundaries to that, right? They hold all the cards, and their definition of a championship caliber team, right? It might only be if Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant are on the team, right? So like Michael Reinsdorf said this, right? And I'm just like, fine, great, you said such a thing. But at the same time, right, we also know that they can just be like, well, we don't think that's a championship caliber team, so we're not going to spend the money, right? That's the issue that I have with the Reinsdorfs, is that like, yeah, they act as if, oh yeah, we're willing to spend the money, like we're willing to go into the tax, like they say that, but I'm like, okay, what is exactly your limit then, right? Or what is it actually going to take to get into the tax, right? Like what is the move, right? So that's the reason why I'm just like, look, man, it's just, in my opinion, the tax. I hope that the Reinsdorfs look at the new CBA rules and see, hey, the luxury tax for next season, if you go into it and you go into actually a pretty significant amount, it's not as, detrimental to their wallets as it would be for this season. So I would hope that they are willing to go into the tax this next season. Just if let's say the Bulls are like really full out trying to like make some serious changes and adding some key players to the roster. Now, what I'm also just down with for next season is that we trade DeRozan for future assets. Hopefully you sign in trade Vooch. You bring in some decent players, and then you try to develop guys for next season, right? So I don't know. Like I don't. It kind of just comes down to like, who knows at the end of the day. But yeah, next season's gonna be an odd season. No matter what happens, honestly. All right, thinking about the audio, guys. I'm glad it looks better now. I've written it down in my notes of what I need to do, so I guess you guys can understand. I'm on a different setup than usual, so everything's different with each setup that I have. So I have to. Not everything's the same, so I have to adjust for everything. So, thank you for your patience on it. I honestly don't think in my mind we are not too far off from consistently competing with Milwaukee and Boston. I don't think we are that far off either, and I know that sounds crazy, right? But like, I think if there is a season that kind of shows you just like how much parity there is in the league, right? It's this season. And sure, Milwaukee's, they look great, right? And I think that they're playing at a great level. And then Boston and Philly are then right under them. But like, I think we saw with Boston, for example, the Boston in their second half of the season, like they weren't that great, right? They were hovering 500, or at least like the records in the second half of the season was hovering 500 for a while, right? So it just kind of shows you that I think that this, like, to really compete in the NBA, like, you don't need a big three right now. You just need a duo. And it has to be a very good duo, obviously, but like, you need a duo. It doesn't require a big three, which a big three always is, that requires a lot of contract maneuvering, and it's a lot to try to maneuver around. But with the duo and having very good role players alongside, and you play to the style of basketball that this game requires you to play at, right? I don't think I think anybody can compete with anybody, right? Um, I'm not shocked to hear that that a lot of people are picking the LA Lakers over the Memphis Grizzlies. I truly I'm not shocked to hear that. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're playing right now, and I honestly think that uh I know that they're a young team, but if they win tonight, which I picked them to win tonight, like I think they can make Denver go to 6 games. Okay, so it just shows you again, like there is such a level of parity in this league right now that I think it would be very bad if this Bulls team did not take advantage of that. Um, and making that sort of roster, in my opinion, is a little bit easier compared to when you needed a big three to even be in just talks about competing with the roster or with anybody, right? Um, that's true. Also, I put blame on him and AKM even not working together, bring us to squad. Yeah, I think we take a step back again next season if we get rid of Vucevic and Demar, which I'm fine with as long as we develop the young players. Yeah, which again, if we take like a step back, here's my definition of a step back. By the way, first off, let's just say we trade Vucevic and DeRozan and we actually get decent return for them, and we sign like a rim rolling center. I don't know who it is, or we trade for him, right? A guy that at least can play like 28 minutes per game. Okay. You sign some shooters and you bring in some point guards, or you bring in a point guard that you can reliably trust at the starting point guard position for next season. Okay. So like this would not be the DeJounte Murray route or the Tyus Jones route. Okay. Um, I think next season this Bulls team wins 42 games or more. Like, and this is with the step back idea. And the reason why I say this is because we've seen that teams, they may just have an all-star, right? But just due to the level of play or just the style of play that they are a good team defensively, and they're developing a lot of guys, right? If you just have a good amount of like supporting cast and you play the right way, you win more games. Okay? And so yeah, that would be like the step back definition, but I'm also here to say like, look, I think that even if we would step back by trading DeRozan and getting rid of Vooch, I think this team wins more than 40 games next season, which we won 40 games this season. And it's just due to the level of play. So, or just style of play, and making sure the personnel is just better fit for modern day basketball. It sounds crazy, but I'm willing to say it. That's how much I think that the style of play has ruined this team this season. That if this team was just decent offensively, we're looking at a team that had a pretty good overall net rating for this season. Yet this team was under 500. The net rating says that this team should be like arguably a top 12 team in the league, okay? Which would put us around the Knicks level of type team, which they had a very solid season. So the step back, right, in my head is like you probably should have won 47 games this season. You might step back to 42 or 43. So be it, right? But if that means developing P. Will, developing Dalen Terry, Kobe White figures out his role, I think it's worth it. And then suddenly 2024 offseason, there is cap space galore with this squad. Depending on who we get back, if we do trade DeMar and trade Vooch, I mean we'll see about the Vooch thing, and then obviously with DeMar we have full control over that. So we're not going to just accept the terrible DeMar DeRozan trade just to accept the terrible trade just to get him off the rock. You still want us to target Siakam too, because you would prefer LaVine and Siakam or LaVine and DeJounte Murray. I would definitely prefer LaVine and Siakam. I think that would be the better combo. But with the current new rules of the CBA, I think it's going to be extremely hard for the Bulls to even get Siakam at this point. Again, new CBA's coming in. There's a bunch of rules in play, and we'll discuss it at a later date. But with the new CBA coming in, I think it's extremely difficult for the Bulls to actually get Siakam now. So in my opinion, DeJounte Murray is like the more, I guess, available guy that the Bulls can get. and more realistic that they can get. And it probably requires a trade with the Atlanta Hawks, but I'm also aware that the Atlanta Hawks, they have their issues. So, uh, so do we bring in a starting PG and move Kobe to backup? What happens to Io? So here's like, let's just for example, let's say we bring in DeJounte Murray. So let's say Atlanta Hawks, they get swept in the first round by the Boston Celtics, and their front office is like, okay, the Trae Young and DeJounte Murray combination doesn't work. We spent 3 first-round picks on DeJounte Murray. He's going to be a free agent after this upcoming season. We don't want to lose him for nothing after spending 3 first-round picks on him. So let's trade him now so we can get value back in return. So let's just go off of that hypothetical. Okay. So if the Bulls are able to jump in on this, I would jump in on getting DeJounte. Okay. Now that could require Kobe. Just so you know, it could require Kobe. But let's say it doesn't. Okay. It requires the Bulls a pick. Let's say you do a DeMar DeRozan trade something earlier. You use some of those assets to get DeJounte, match up the contracts. I don't know how you do it, but you do it. It probably involves a Caruso, right? And DeJounte Murray's on the squad. Okay. Now, I think with Kobe White, my opinion, I still I'm on this train. Okay. I really don't look at Kobe as a point guard. Okay. I look at Kobe as just a scoring guard. He is not the point. He's not the 2. It's just his job is to come in and just score. So more so a shooting guard. So that would put then I would assume was still at that backup point guard position. Because Kobe would be then just the off guard as the scoring guard of that backup unit. That would be my idea for this team moving forward. Now, the other person that I've been consistent saying of bringing back is Patrick Beverley. I do think that he's a guy that I would like to bring back, but as a backup. And so with him, this is kind of one of those situations where it's like I think that maybe Beverley might be like getting very few minutes and he's just on the bench with this team, but that's valuable still at the end of the day. So if he's willing to accept the minimum and know that he's only gonna get maybe 8 minutes a game moving forward, because I think we can kind of see that his level of play is declining, and he is 35 if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, bring him back. I have no issues with that. Oh yeah, I want to talk about this. Okay, I have a few irks that I want to talk about tonight that relates to this game, but also in my opinion it relates to the future of this team. Okay, there's a few things that I was just very befuddled at watching this game, and I struggled to kind of comprehend, what exactly Billy Diamond was really thinking throughout some of this. One of them is that Alex Caruso was getting a ton of possessions down the stretch. I don't know why. There were like plays called for him where he was like the pick and roll ball handler. I just did not understand that, but that's not really related to the future of this team. In my opinion, the biggest thing that I just did not understand tonight was this right here, was why did Patrick Williams play more? Io got 4 minutes tonight, okay? And I know Io is like part of the future of this team, but there's clearly a player here that is more for the future of this team, that is also the better player, okay? I don't know why after Io, airballed that 3-point shot in the corner, why the hell he came back into this game, okay? Billy Donovan made, in my opinion, an incredible mistake by bringing Io back in for however long it was. I think it was like 2 minutes in the second half. Like it doesn't make any sense. Okay, Patrick Williams should have played more minutes tonight, and I understand that like with the rotation with how it is right now, it's basically like it's a 6.5 man rotation with Kobe White playing 31 minutes per game, right? And you see the starters are obviously they're playing heavy minutes. So I call it like a 6.5 because Patrick Williams is like, he's getting minutes obviously, but I think that this number should be a lot higher. And we saw this, for example, against the Toronto Raptors. Like we saw that his minutes in the Toronto Raptors game, they were pretty high, right? And this is kind of like my ideal scenario where he's playing 25 minutes per game. Yeah, he's coming off the bench, and I'm aware. And I don't think he should have started tonight either. Like, I know that there's a big argument going on about that, but He played 25 minutes in his Toronto Raptors game, which was also a do or die game, right? The circumstances from Toronto versus tonight, they're very similar circumstances. Like there's no difference. So I don't really understand what Billy Donovan was really thinking in this one. Um, and I just see like potential minutes for him with Io's minutes. So maybe he doesn't get to 25 minutes in this game, but I can see Patrick Williams getting at least up to 20 minutes in this game. Um, I thought that he was making some impactful plays on the defensive end. Obviously, offensively, there's some struggles, right? But I need him out there, and like the importance of him getting this experience is very high. So I'm not exactly sure what the thought process was tonight, but it was a thought process. So that's that. Other thing that I was very interested in this kind of down the stretch with this squad. I think Lot Mob mentioned it earlier, or I think many people mentioned it. Like, Kobe White should have stayed in to close this game, and I think Kobe can develop into that sort of player where it's like he comes off the bench, but then he can close out games, right? That's a valuable piece to have, and with Kobe's lack of experience already in playoff type games, I would have liked to have seen him close because Patrick Beverley was giving us nothing in this game. Like you want the definition of giving nothing in a game? It was Patrick Beverley tonight. 0 points, 4 fouls, right? I'm aware his defense is typically good, but like he was fouling way too much to be effective defensively. And his 3-point shot obviously wasn't going down, but Kobe's 3-point shot was going down. So it's these little decisions by Billy that I just question. I understand he's trying to win this game and he's trying to think that, oh, this is gonna help this team win this game, but like I think like you can argue the IO decision with me about him and P Will, but to me the best way for this team to win this game was having Kobe White out there in the last 3 minutes. And Billy Donovan decided that that was not a good decision for whatever reason. I'm truly confused why. So when it comes to Kobe moving forward, I see UMC season. Do you think they send Io for a longer contract than Kobe, or do you think they'll sign Kobe to a longer contract? First off, I think both are going to get re-signed, and I think I made that clear on this channel. Now, when it comes to the length of contract, let me remind you of a couple of things. I talked about on this channel that the new CBA has made a big change that it actually strictly affects a player like Kobe White. And that is the rookie scale extensions for players. So if you're not aware, a player that is coming off of the rookie scale contract, typically their 4-year contract they get after they're drafted, their next contract at max length could only be 4 years. Okay, and this is only in the case where the next contract is less than a max contract. Okay, if the player got a max contract, it would be 5 years, but there are very few players getting a rookie scale max contract extension, right? This new CBA has changed it where now any player coming off a rookie type contract, they can get up to 5 years on their next contract. Okay, so a player like Kobe White, who is obviously not going to get a max, he can get now up to 5 years on his new contract. With Io, the most that he can get is 4 years. Okay, the most he can get is 4 years. He is only a 2-year player. The most he can get is 4. And already, in my opinion, we are probably going to see Io probably sign like a 2 or 3 year deal this upcoming offseason anyway. I do not see Io locking himself in for a 4-year contract after having a pretty down year, right? I think that he's going to want a chance to kind of re-up and try to, prove himself and then try to re-up and get a better contract. So, in my opinion, the Bulls, because of the new rule changes and because of how the Io situation is played out, I think they give a longer contract to Kobe, but they bring both back. I think Io's brought back on a 3-year deal, or more likely a 2-year plus one, and then Kobe's brought back on a 4-year deal with probably an option on for the 5th year. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that's the most realistic outcome after this season, and just watching each scenario just kind of play out. So, yeah, that's my idea for this year, for this offseason when it comes to those. Um, which I think it is significant because I think that this might allow the Bulls to not have to pay Kobe as much money because they're able to lock him in for 4 years and also potentially a fifth year, right? Um, so he might not be asking for so much money to start his contract, which is that's huge at the end of the day. All right, so one thing I want to kind of go over with you guys is now that we're officially at this point, right? The Bulls have officially been eliminated. So we're now looking at the contracts for this team moving forward. Um, and as you can see here, we're able to kind of look at through the new kind of spot track update that has been released. We're able to kind of see who are the guys who are going to be hitting free agency, whether it's restricted or unrestricted, and what sort of money is going to be at play here. So just kind of going off of the money of like who has the most. Obviously, it's Zach with his max deal. Then DeRozan is next, and then Lonzo Ball is gonna be next to this $20 million. But then that's it, honestly. After that, in terms of like major money, so Patrick Williams, Caruso, and Drummond, they're not making much money at all. And Drummond and Derrick Jones Jr. they can opt out this offseason. Um, Terry Taylor, Carlik Jones, and Marko Simonovic. These guys, I don't know exactly what we're going to be looking at for next season. It looks like Terry Taylor is going to potentially get a qualifying two-way player option, which I think is a good decision. Carlik Jones is on a non-guaranteed contract, so is Marko Simonovic. These two guys get waived immediately and not get counted towards the cap. And then here are our free agents. The big one is obviously Vooch. The next one's Kobe. I think Javonte Green is gone. It's been an unfortunate year for Javonte because of his injury, but I do think that he is gone. And then Justin Lewis is basically already confirmed to be back next season on a two-way contract, so that will take up one of the two-way contracts for next season, which, by the way, the new CBA is allowing teams to have 3 two-way contracts next season. So Justin Lewis is going to take up one. I think Terry Taylor probably takes up the next. The Bulls are going to have one more two-way contract probably available to go out and use, which I think is a good decision by the NBA. So, like I said, here we are. Vucevic, Kobe White, Dosunmu. I think those are the 3 guys that we're going to be mostly looking at. In my opinion, it's best to just it's either, somehow get a sign and trade with Vooch. If not, then bring him back and then trade him later. That would be the ideal situation. And then Kobe and Niall, I'm re-signing because the Bulls don't have any cap space this offseason anyway. So, yeah, might as well just bring them back. It doesn't hurt you at the end of the day, unless you're trading DeRozan and somehow getting out of Lonzo Ball's contract, right? Which again, that's not happening, unfortunately, for next season. So that's what we're looking at here for the Bulls' overall salary stuff. I like that this like multi-year summary type thing. I think this is really good. And just kind of another look at the 2023-24 offseason, or I guess the 2023 offseason for this Bulls team. As I said, there is very little cap space available. If the Bulls decide to not bring any of these guys back, then they can get up to $11 million in cap space, but that means no re-signing Kobe, no re-signing Io, right? So in my opinion, that the Bulls are just going to be operating over the cap, and that's that. So I think that this is kind of what we're going to be looking at. The Bulls are going to have available to them this non-taxpayer mid-level exception, unless they go into the tax deeply into the tax, which I doubt is going to happen. But this number for the non-taxpayer mid-level, I expect this to go up a little bit. I could be wrong about that, but I think this number is going to go up a little bit, actually. So this might be closer to $12 million that the Bulls are going to have to spend, and then they also have the biannual exception to use as well. This will then hard cap the Bulls at the luxury tax apron, which I don't know. I don't think it's going to show here, but it's basically about $6 million after the luxury tax threshold. So the Bulls are then, if they use either one of these two things, they will be then hard capped officially at about $168 million next season, which is still plenty of money to use. Okay. Even if you bring back Vooch and you bring back Kobe and you bring back Io, you still will have money to use before you hit that 168 mark. So, yeah, there's ways. There's ways for this Bulls team to spend money and get better. Get some shooters, please. Wanted to make trades during the draft, so I do think that the Bulls are going to be making a trade during the draft, and it's just the whole idea of the Knicks pick that the Bulls could potentially get from Portland. Casey Johnson kind of wrote about this. So this might happen before the draft. I seriously doubt it because I think this is going to be something that's going to happen in the middle of the draft because Portland already has full access to their pick this season, so there's no reason to really kind of do anything before the draft happens. But if you're not aware, the New York Knicks traded their pick to the Portland Trailblazers to get Josh Hart. Now, the Portland Trailblazers, they have their own pick this season. They're obviously in the lottery. And then they have that New York Knicks pick coming in for the Josh Hart trade. From what we've seen, I do think that the what we've seen, the New York Knicks pick is going to probably be ranked 23rd, unless I'm just doing the math wrong there. But because Portland is trying to get back all their rights to their own picks, which the Bulls own basically own their draft board, unless it's in the lottery through 2028, right? Unless a pick conveys. That pick I just don't know when that pick is going to convey, and Portland does not have time to wait around for that, right? So I think that you're going to see a trade on draft night where the Bulls are going to trade with the Portland Trailblazers, where they get this first round pick that is the New York Knicks pick, and you're going to see the Bulls draft in the early 20s in the first round. And people have consistently said, right, that this draft is pretty deep, and there's a lot of talent to be had, even in the later rounds or later picks. So I think it would be 100% worth it for the Bulls to kind of work out a deal with Portland to get back, to get that first round pick, and then give Portland back all their rights to their picks till 2028. Because Portland's obviously stuck. They can't make any moves. They can't trade any of their picks until they figure this out with the Bulls, if either pick conveys or they work out a deal to get their picks back. So, in my opinion, that it's a very possible situation that we see the Bulls, they make a move on draft night, but it's just with the Portland Trailblazers just to get this pick, and then the Bulls are going to have a pick to make at about, I'm going to guess it's 23rd. So we'll be looking at that. And we'll be prepared. So we'll see what exactly the front office is going to do and what the Portland Trailblazers actually want to do, because they could just decide, we're not going to do it anyway. Very good stream so far, great job. I appreciate that a lot, Singroko. So there's stuff to be talked about there. What was I going to talk about? I had something else in mind, but it's just fine. Alright, whatever. Free agents. That's what it was. So, what I'm going to do here is just kind of show you kind of some guys that I think the Bulls can target with their mid-level exception. I think that we're going to be seeing the Bulls are going to try to use that mid-level exception this offseason to its fullest extent, which again they did not do this season. And it's hopefully to add some key pieces that can help this team for the now and then also for the future. Again, mid-level exception, and I think it's to be around $12 million, which is a decent chunk of money to spend. So there's some guys that I want to kind of look at for this upcoming offseason that could kind of fit into that area that we're looking at, right? So obviously this Bulls team, they need forwards that can shoot. I think that's kind of like the obvious statement here. So guys that can fit into that mid-level exception that are pretty decent shooters, right? We'll see about Kelly Oubre. I seriously doubt it, though. I think Kelly Oubre is going to get probably more than $12 million. But I know we tried signing Gallinari last offseason, but here he is again. Jay Crowder's also here. Try to scroll down. Sorry. We'll see what happens with Cam Johnson with the Portland Trailblazers, but he could also be a guy to potentially look at. But the biggest guys that I'm seriously looking at here are Georges Niang, because I think that he is going to be available, and his three-point shooting has been fantastic all season long, right? And then other guys like PJ Washington, right? He's down here too. Um, and he's also a forward that can shoot the ball pretty well. So these are guys that I'm just pointing out that we could pull in to this team using the mid-level exception for next season, um, and it would be very very helpful. I've always brought up Yuta Watanabe. This is a guy that I think is very under the radar, and his 3-point shooting has been fantastic. So who knows how much he's actually going to get? You might even be able to use the biannual exception on him, which is only about $5 million anyway. So I think if you can get Yuta Watanabe and have him play consistent minutes for this team, that's not a bad. That's really not a bad thing. Uh, so there are some forwards here available that can be used with the mid-level exception. Um, and then when it comes to guards, this I think is kind of the more interesting stuff because obviously the Bulls they need a point guard, but in terms of guys that could come in with the mid-level exception, though, I think Gary Trent Jr. is one guy. Potentially Malik Beasley. We'll see about Malik Beasley. I think he's probably going to stay in LA due to the club option. Josh Hart, if he comes available, right? Alec Burks is definitely a guy that I'm going to have my eyes on, just to look at moving forward. I know a lot of people in this chat have talked about Seth Curry, right? My only concern about Seth Curry is his age is starting to get up there and his injury history. So something just to keep your eye on with him. Then I'll also circle Bruce Brown as another guy that could be useful with the mid-level exception. So there are guys here, right, that can be gotten with the mid-level exception. It's on this Bulls front office to make sure that they convert and spend the money right and not overspend on some of these guys. In terms of the center position, I don't really want to spend the mid-level exception on the center spot, specifically for a center that's going to be starting. That just doesn't really work out well. I think if you're going to get a backup center, which we might have or might not have because of Andre Drummond and his player option. Oh, sorry. It's you just don't spend much money on him. But the one person I'm going to point out to you guys is Naz Reid. I know that the Minnesota Timberwolves they want him back badly, but because of the Rudy Gobert trade and the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, and they might have to hard cap themselves again to actually make some significant moves to their roster, like a sign and trade, right? Naz Reid might be available. So this is one guy that I'm going to keep my eyes on when it comes to potentially using a mid-level exception on him. So keep in mind about Naz Reid. Thomas Bryant's another guy I've always liked, but I know that with him injuries have been a serious issue. So I would more pick Naz Reid over Thomas Bryant if I were choosing. What's going on, Noel? Glass is over. All I'm gonna say it's a fitting end. I would have liked to see the Bulls in the playoffs, even though we'd get wrecked. But it's a fitting end to the season. A 90s type game, and the Bulls have played 90s type basketball all season, and you lose the 90s type game. It's great, right? Yeah, just a fitting end to end the season. I'm gonna say Kobe White is gonna be good enough next season. I agree. Which is the reason why I showed the forward position first, right? I definitely think that the forward position is kind of the more dire need, where shooting is desperately needed. But like the amount of free agents here at the forward that are gonna fit in the mid level it's hard. So leaning less towards Seth Curry makes sense. Yeah, I lean less on Seth Curry. I'm not really that high on him right now. But like the guys that I would be interested in, like Kyle Kuzma, like I would like him, but he's gonna get paid, right? Like we're not getting him via mid level. Same thing with Kelly Oubre, Dylan Brooks, same thing. So that's who's I circled Jay Crowder. I circled Daniel Gallinari. I guess Joe Ingles too, but he's 36. So Otto Porter, like it doesn't really look too good. So that's the reason why I went down here and circled Georges Niang because I do think he's going to be available for the mid level. And then Cam Reddish if Trailblazers decide to just kind of randomly move on from it. But yeah, there's guys available. So I also circled PJ Washington because I think he's going to be available too. But we'll see. We'll see what the free agent list is going to be. So I do think that the best way for this team to start like making some significant changes is through the trades. But you can still really work around the edges by getting some guys in free agency with the mid-level, biannual, or sign-in trades potentially. Um, yeah, as would be nice. I agree. Do you think DeMar played his last Bulls game? If I had to make a decision, that my decision would be yes. I'm not 100% certain right now. But because of what Casey Johnson has kind of reported or said, and with how the Bulls failed to meet two expectations set by this front office, one at the beginning of the season and one after the trade deadline, I would hope that the front office understands that this core is not going to work, and DeMar DeRozan is one of those guys that has to go. So I I think if I had to put money on it, DeRozan's last game was tonight as a Bull, and I think he gets traded to somewhere out west. But I can't guarantee it. I don't really know what to think of this front office right now. I wish I had the trust or I wish I was able to trust this front office to just be like, oh yeah, DeRozan's gone next season. But yeah, who knows? It's uh, gonna be interesting to look at because I don't think that's a guarantee, unfortunately. All right. Sorry, I just want to change a sec. Oh, the camera looks a little bit better after that. So yeah, I gave you a rundown of some guys that I'm looking at with the mid-level exception. As I said, there's not really a lot here, but there's definitely some guys that can kind of help with this team, just kind of around the edges to get some more modern type basketball in Chicago again. I mean, every move they made had a net positive impact, so I think if they make a move, it will be good. Uh, yeah, we'll see. I think the when it comes to net positive, right? The one that I'm not really sure about is the Vooch trade, right? Because you lost 2 first-round picks. Like, forget Wendell. I'm just forget that whole thing. But with the 2 first-round picks, that's debatable. I can see the front office saying F it and wanting to play out DeMar's contract. I can also see that too, and that's the scary part about it. And if they do that, that to me kind of signals that they might be looking to trade Levine, and that to me is not the right decision, obviously. So if they decide, yeah, we're just gonna keep DeMar for next season, like that screams very terrible things. But I would hope that's not the case. I'm just gonna hope that isn't the case. I'm gonna block that out of my memory. But the impact of change is gonna depend, and we would have to wait and see. Yeah, as always. I gotta keep Zach. Same with me. I know. I'm aware Zach Levine had an awful game tonight. I'm very much aware. I'm disappointed in him, honestly. But I'm also just aware of how this game was being played and how the Bulls, even with a terrible Zach Levine shooting night, they probably should have won this game if they just played modern style. So as a follow this loss, I think he deserves some heavy criticism for sure. I'm not going to fully blame or say that Billy is fully at fault for this loss. I mean, Zach Levine did shoot 28% from the field, but Billy deserves a lot of criticism. On his team as a coach, I'd say it's mostly the coach. I'm not going to fully just excuse the team though. There's some stuff that the team definitely didn't do too well. That is specifically on the players, and only on the players, and I don't think it's anything to do with coaching. But I've already kind of said some of my issues I had with Billy in this game. I'm not gonna go too much farther into it, but yeah, there's some stuff that with Billy that I'm really looking into, and so if there's a big offseason kind of thing to look at is, all right, is Billy Donovan going to change his coaching ways, right? I think defensively, Billy Donovan has been a very good coach defensively all season long. Offensively, though, I think he's been one of the worst coaches in the league. So is Billy Donovan going to be able to effectively change his ways of coaching and making sure that the offensive end of the floor is taken care of and is coached well? The defensive end, again, top 5 defensive rating this season, okay? And in both playing games, you've held teams to under 100 or to 105 points or under, okay? That to me is a good overall defensive game plan, okay? And that to me is something that Billy deserves credit for. But as much as I give him credit for the defense, I think he deserves some extremely heavy criticism for the offense. The offense has some serious issues, and I think part of it is on him. It's yes, part of it is on the terrible player personnel on this team, but this team should have been over 500. The net rating says this team should be over 500, and when a net rating says that this team should be winning 46 games and you're under 500, the coach comes into play for sure. He was when Drummond was scoring 6 points, 6 rebounds in 6 minutes, plus defending with blocks. He pulled him out. I agree with you. I think Drummond should have played longer. I don't think Drummond should have, finished the game necessarily, but he should have definitely played longer. And look, I'm this should also show you that I'm not supposed to be a coach. I predicted that Andre Drummond's not going to play, and I thought that was the right decision. I truly thought that, like, before the game started, I said Andre Drummond's not going to play, and I'm like, that's right, because the Miami Heat they play small anyway, so you can get away with it. But no, clearly Drummond, he had a major impact. So give Billy credit for playing Drummond, but also then criticize him heavily for taking him out when he was being very impactful. And then obviously Vooch had some pretty overall just a bad game in my opinion. I think that Vooch deserves a lot of criticism for, but I also think that Vooch's terrible game tonight also falls on Donovan. Yeah. He'll be opposite his second year. I wouldn't mind having Drummond back on the roster next season. It's not the most terrible thing. He'd be a nice backup. Obviously, if Vooch is traded or replacement comes in, whatever, maybe Drummond starts and is playing only 25 minutes a game though. But if he opts in, that's another thing that's another asset I guess the Bulls could potentially trade, right? He's not much of an asset, but I wanted the Furkan Korkmaz trade that I told you guys about during the trade deadline. I think that's like a very legitimate trade. The 76ers, they need a backup center desperately, and then I think the Bulls obviously need shooting, and I would take Furkan Korkmaz easily. So yeah. And he pulls Kobe out when he's high. We should keep what it works and not make a decision on who will be in. We should have stayed with what was working. So let me remind you of this though. Like, the Miami Heat, they did respond well, even when Kobe was on the floor, right? So it wasn't like it was all flowers and roses, what are that phrases? But it wasn't all pretty when Kobe was on the floor. Like, there was definitely some bad with Kobe on the floor. I agree with you though that Kobe should have finished this game. I think it's mostly because though that Patrick Beverley gave you nothing in this game, right? Didn't hit a 3-point shot, fouled way too much, picked up 4 fouls, only played 20 plus minutes, right? And did not score. Like, Patrick Beverley was bringing nothing to the table tonight, and Kobe White was hitting his 3-point shots. And that is something that this Bulls team desperately needed down the stretch because this Bulls team can't make 3-point shots. So I think like the obvious decision there is just to play Kobe out the rest of the game and not put in Patrick Beverley. And it's not that like it's not as simple as you're saying, Zay, right? Like where it's like, oh, this was what was working, so Kobe should have stayed out there. Like I think it's more so that Patrick Beverley sucked so bad tonight that Kobe White, because he's played pretty well, he deserves to stay in this game and close it out. So, yeah, there's some bad stuff when it comes to just picking and choosing when to sub guys in and when to sub guys out. I also thought, honestly, I also thought that Billy left Levine on the bench too long in the fourth. In those types of games where it's like do or die games, I thought Billy did this kind of well in the first half, where it's like, okay, you bring out a guy for like a minute and a half and then you put him back in, and like they'll get like 2 minute-and-a-half breaks in a half. With with Levine, he had Levine play the entire third quarter, and then he sat Levine for the first 3.5 minutes of the fourth quarter, and I'm just like, I think Levine needs to get in there. Bulls made a bit of a run, obviously, but it's one of those times where I'm just like, Billy's got to do better in that situation. But that's me nitpicking. Could we trade DeMar for Spencer Dinwiddie? I think that's a possibility. But why would Brooklyn, or sorry, yeah, it's Brooklyn. Why would Brooklyn want to do that, right? I would add Dorian Finney-Smith, but I guess that would be too much. So I think that's more realistic. Like, let's say we try to trade DeMar for Dorian Finney-Smith and something else, right? I think that's more realistic, and I think that could actually be pulled off if Brooklyn has, because Brooklyn has made it clear that they're not going to rebuild. So I'd be down for that. I think Brooklyn would also kind of be interested in that. If DeMar is kind of willing to take, like, the starting shooting guard role with this team. Joe Harris, I mean, I think contractually that doesn't exactly work out, but it's not a terrible idea. I just question the health of Joe Harris. Let me go back to the. Sorry, I want to try to find the Brooklyn. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm very tired. I got 1 hour of sleep due to some circumstances. So stream's gonna end here soon. Actually, yeah, the money would actually work out with this, I think. Let me see for next season. DeMar's making about $28 million. Joe Harris, yeah, all right, yeah, that would actually work out. So yeah, it's a possibility. I think a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, why'd you get Dorian Finney-Smith? I think Dorian Finney-Smith is a very, very good player and underrated. A great definition of like a two-way player. That's an underrated two-way player in this league. So I'd be very happy with Dorian Finney-Smith. If Joe Harris needs to be added on too. His contract's not ideal, but his shooting is good, so you take that. And maybe get a pick out of this. Like, yeah, I can see it. Promise Kobe and Drummond was there, and the two fouls that happened with Vooch would have been a block or a different decision for the Miami Heat offense to jack up and a forced 3-point bucket. I think it's pretty bold of you to like just assume and say that this would have happened if this decision was made. I don't think that's exactly something that we can do, but what I can get behind is, or I can support this though, is if Kobe and Drummond were left in the game, if Drummond was left in the game a little bit longer and Kobe was left in the finish, I think the Bulls would have had a better chance of winning the game. I don't think we can really point out to like specific plays, right? That is like, oh, if Drummond was just in the game at this very moment in time, then this happens and the Bulls get a block here or whatever. But I will say that I do think that if Drummond was in the game longer and Kobe was in the close, the Bulls have a better chance of winning that game. Yeah. It's rough, but season's over, right? We don't have to complain about Billy Donovan's coaching anymore, which that's not true. I'm gonna be complaining about it all off season. All right, Bulls. For this season, just a couple of stats. I want to bring a basketball reference because I like to do this sort of stuff. If you're wondering if the Reinsdorfs are happy or upset, I think they're just kind of in the middle here. The Bulls led the league in attendance, but they did not make the playoffs. So the Reinsdorfs are obviously they're missing out on 2 playoff games bare minimum from this Bulls team. So that's obviously money that they're not getting. So I'm not exactly sure if they're happy about that. But they should be happy about this number, that the Bulls were leading the league in attendance, which is not abnormal for this Bulls team. As I said, net rating wise, this Bulls team was ranked 13th overall, which is, again, it's like it shows you that this team should be probably like a top 6 or top 6 team in their conference. But things didn't go that way, unfortunately. Defensive rating, the Bulls were rated 5th. Offensively, they're rated 24th, which is stuff that is just disgusting to look at. In terms of pace, this is the biggest thing in my opinion that, or one of the biggest things to look at is that the Bulls rank 19th. That's way too low. It's straight up at the end of the day, that is way too low. This Bulls team needs to play with more pace and get more shots up, which the only way to raise that is if you stop going to the post and stop shooting the mid-range and stop relying solely on 90s basketball type plays to get you through the game. So there's that we're going to be looking at here. Opponent points per game is 111.8. That is a very solid number in my opinion. I know a lot of you think that that's a terrible number, but in today's NBA world, that is a very good number. In terms of points per game from us, 113.1 is terrible. We're seeing teams average 119 points per game. Okay, average. Yes, I said that correctly. Average 119 points per game. So to see this Bulls team just consistently not put up enough points, which was their demise tonight, which is that they just could not score the ball in the first and fourth quarters, shows you that this team needs some serious changes moving. And it really sucks that, we're continuously talking about this, but here we are talking about it at the end of the season when the Bulls lost. When it was in, they didn't attack the basket, and Drummond was grabbing more boards. He was unstoppable big in the middle. Again, Zay, I think that is overzealous to just think that the Miami Heat would not be attacking the basket if Drummond was in the game. What I do think that Drummond did have an effect on was that he's able to effectively hedge that pick and roll very well. That limits Miami's ability to drive. It's not about his shot blocking ability. It's more so about his mobility and his ability to either switch the pick and roll or hedge hard on the pick and roll to stop the driver from getting into the lane very effectively. So it's not really about Drummond like blocking the shot, right? It's more so about just the player just how the game was playing out and how he was having that effect and how he could keep up with Heat players. Yeah. Nick Nurse is leaving. I would have loved to get him. Why would they extend Billy so early? Yeah, I would want to know that question. I would like to know the answer as well, but we're never going to get it. Plus, DeRozan and Zach was playing for self. Kobe was open for three, begging for the ball. They took stupid shots, turning the ball over. I disagree with that, actually. I think that DeRozan and Levine, I don't think, like, Levine, obviously, he, like, took, like, 2 shots at the very end, but, like, Zach, like, took, like, a major backseat for, like, a good 3.5 minutes, knowing that he could not get a shot to go down. In crunch time, and that was when Kobe was getting his shots up. I also think though that Caruso got too many shots in crunch time. So if you're gonna really talking about players taking away shots from Kobe, I think it was Caruso. Like Caruso should not be taking any sort of shots in crunch time. DeRozan and Levine, I don't care how much they're struggling. I want the ball in their hands at the end of the day, and I'm gonna depend on them, and I'm gonna live and die with their shots. I thought Kobe, in my opinion, like he got that open 3 that one time off of a pick and pop play, but he was never able to get that same 3 ever again because he wasn't setting good enough screens. Okay, it's important that that Kobe continued to set those types of screens, which he was not doing. But even if he's not doing that, his 3-point shooting is still a threat for this team. So you have to leave him out there. And he was one of the few guys that were actually knocking down their 3-point shots. So it's so important to have him out there at the end. I don't think Kobe needs to be taking most of the shots in crunch time, even with Levine and DeRozan struggling. Because I also am gonna, Kobe White also had almost a turnover, which ended up being a jump ball, right? Near the end of the game, where he tried to drive, he just completely lost his balance and fell on the floor and almost turned the ball over, right? So it should not have been Kobe White taking the bulk of the shots down the stretch. There's no shot that should be the game plan. But I do think that he could have gotten a few more shots that went to Caruso. And I think that if he just screened a little bit better, he could have gotten some more opportunities to either shoot the 3 or drive to the basket. They extended him early, I'm guessing because ownership wanted that. Remember, Beatty said he talks to them every day. I think Billy Donovan has said that he talks to the front office every day. but I'm not exactly sure how much that means he talks to Michael and Jerry. Um, I think that he did say when the contract extension was released how much that him and the Reinsdorfs have a good relationship, but that I don't think that means that they're like specifically talking like every single day. I do agree with you though that uh, ownership probably did want the contract that contract extension, and I think it's mostly due to the fact that ownership probably doesn't want to be paying two coaches at once. So if the front office decided, hey, we're gonna move on from Billy Donovan, right, and bring in a new coach, then you're paying two coaches, right? And the front office probably doesn't want to do that. So, yeah, interesting thing just to consider. Obviously, Billy Donovan's going to be here next season. I'd be very shocked if he suddenly gets fired in the offseason. I do think that he deserves a heavy amount of criticism because of this season. I've talked about this on this channel before, but when it comes to coaching is always a very interesting way of looking at things. But whenever the team succeeds, the coach is never supposed to take credit. If the team is not meeting expectations, the coach is always going to take criticism, and that is the way coaching should be done. It is the correct way to coach things. It has been proven that that is how coaching is supposed to work. Okay, because if let's say that the coach, for example, if let's say the team is winning, right, and the coach is taking the credit, then that creates a big divide in between the relationship between the coach and player and coach and team. Okay, if the coach is not not just basically just swatting away criticism and not taking that criticism, then it's going to create that disconnect between the team and the coach and the players and the coach, and that trust factor is going to decline. It is, again, I'm learning about this right now in college, and like there's been like academic studies on this sort of thing, why this sort of coaching style is effective. So for Billy, like, I do think that he deserves some extreme criticism for his offense this season. However, I do think that his defense, because his defense was top 5, he deserves some good credit for his defense. But with an offense ranked in 24, that deserves some serious criticism. And I hope that we are all aware, right? I also I don't understand when people give Billy Donovan's like hate about the defense and stuff. That to me doesn't make any sense. There needs to be correct criticism with Billy Donovan. Okay, that's the only way it's going to be effective, and the point's going to get across. If you're gonna say that Billy Donovan is a bad coach because the defense sucks, you clearly did not watch this team at all this season, and you clearly don't look at the stats. Okay, the defense was one of the best defenses in the league all season long. The offense was the problem, and that to me needs to be the part that is highlighted, blown up on air, and heavily dissected on the radio waves, the talk shows, and the articles. It's truly just what it is at the end of the day. Yeah. All right. I am looking at about 3 minutes left of the Oklahoma City and Minnesota game. Or actually, they just ended quarter 3. Oh, never mind. No, they're in quarter 3. All right, guys. This is officially the last post-game stream of the 2022-2023 season. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Am I dropping frames? Okay, no. Sorry, I looked over and I was looking at my OBS and I was, huh? That's odd. Sorry about that. But yeah, this is the last official post game stream of the year. So once again, I just want to say thank you guys, and just thank you to my community and all the people that have been here to support me throughout the season. It's been an incredible journey this season, and I'm very happy and pleased with my growth with this channel, and I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff that I have planned, upcoming stuff here. Just want you guys to know that this channel is not going to die. This channel throughout the off season is going to be alive and well and be creating content. You're 100% going to see me stream the draft on here, and then you're gonna see me do a stream when it comes to the first day of free agency. So be prepared for those 2 streams. I'll be sending out stuff in the community post about that. And honestly, I'm really down to like be doing streams that just talk about the rest of the playoffs on this channel. This is a Bulls channel, so I mostly want to keep it to that. But as the Bulls are now officially eliminated, my time or my streaming content is probably gonna be geared towards the rest of the playoffs, and we can talk about what's happening in the playoffs together. As I think this is gonna be a fantastic playoffs this year, even though the Bulls are not in it. So be prepared for that. Also expect the videos to start coming back out during the off season. I do think that because there is like no post game, schedule to kind of work around, you're gonna see less streams and more video content that's gonna be coming to you guys. So just be prepared for that. I have some good ideas kind of in store, and I hope that you guys are gonna enjoy it a lot when it comes to this channel. And then last but not least, just be aware of two new channels coming out soon. That is going to be content from me. This channel is always going to be my main priority no matter what, even if it is in the middle of the off season. But I am planning on making 2 different channels that are going to be for different sorts of content. One channel is going to be about the Chicago White Sox, because I am a Sox fan at the end of the day, and I do analyze the White Sox just as I analyze the Bulls. But Bulls are always my number 1. But I'm also going to be creating that gaming channel that I've talked to you guys a lot about. That is more so on the back burner for now, but just say all I'm gonna say is that like come summertime, just be prepared for that gaming channel to officially be out and ready to go. So if you guys do enjoy my content and enjoy watching me stream, and you want to see me be playing other games, like I'm a big Valorant player. I like to do analysis on Valorant, and then other games as well. That'll be on that channel board. But as I said, this channel, TheSlamDuncan, is not gonna die. This channel is always my main priority and will always be getting most of my attention, even throughout the off season. So thank you guys a lot for an amazing season. It's been an incredible time getting to know all of you, and just really bonding over this ridiculous roller coaster of a year. The season is officially over, and we get to look towards the off season now. And honestly, I'm looking at some stuff tomorrow that might be talked about. That's gonna be interesting. So be prepared for always more Bulls content coming out on this channel. But I want to go watch that playing game with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Minnesota Timberwolves. I think you guys also want to go watch that as well. That is gonna be I think a really good finish. So I'm gonna end stream here. If you have not already, I would appreciate if you hit the like button on the stream. It helps me out a lot if you're new to the channel. And like Bulls content, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. All right, I'm not sure when I'm gonna stream next time. I'm not sure when I'm gonna see you guys next. But just take care of yourselves, guys. Just know that we all are all just, we're all fighting our own things, man. And just please just take care of yourselves. And I hope to be bringing you content as soon as I can. All right. See y'all later. Sucks that this is the ending, but this is the ending, unfortunately, for this season. But I'll see you guys later. Peace, y'all.